Everyone, I have an announcement to make. I saw the Wicked movie, and here is my rapid-fire, spoiler-free review of the movie. Now, if you know absolutely nothing about the Wicked story at all, the musical, the book, then obviously this is not going to be 100% spoiler-free. But if you're at least familiar with the plot, nothing will be spoiled here. And I wouldn't want someone spoiling it for me before I get a chance to see the movie. And it comes out in a couple days, so here you go. If you couldn't tell already, I am so excited to talk about this. I've got my Wicked merch on, complete with hair bow, and let's dive right in. Because I didn't have it in me to wait until this movie actually came out to see it, I went to an advanced screening a couple days ago, and I'm still thinking about it. I mean, I went to bed that night thinking about it. I woke up the next morning after having a dream of being in Oz. I am obsessed. Is it an absolutely perfect movie? Probably not, but it's pretty darn close. Let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. This movie is a musical. If there was ever any confusion, if you still don't know, it is a musical. So if you go into this thinking, oh, there are a couple songs in the trailer, but it's mostly gonna be a story, it is a musical. There will be songs throughout. If you hate singing and you hate joy, maybe this is not the movie for you. But if you love Wicked, the musical, or the book, or the story of the Wizard of Oz, you're probably gonna love this movie. Let me start with the length of the movie. So this has been a hot topic, both in the theater community and also just moviegoers in general, because this movie is set at 2 hours, 40 minutes. And that is a long time, especially if you've got children that are coming there, people who can't sit very long, people who just need to get up and stretch their legs. 240 is a very long time. But what I will say about this film is that I felt that the pacing was really great, so that as it was going along, I wasn't wondering how much more of this film do we have, which I must say I've thought of several films that I've sat in that were even shorter than Wicked. So I feel like there was enough going on screen, so much going on screen, to where I didn't even notice that it was that long, probably about 2:30 once we got through the previews. So it didn't end up being a problem for me. I did empty my bladder once before the movie and then again during previews, just to make sure that I would not have to get up and climb over anybody. So, pro tip. I fully do not understand how they were able to do all of the dancing, the stunts, the acting in this giant space and still have their vocals sound so incredibly gorgeous and flawless. One of the things that I love so much, and also one of the things that I was nervous about, was that the actors did not stray too far from what you would expect from a Broadway cast. So yes, you do have Cynthia and Ariana and even Jonathan adding in little riffs here and there. Cynthia, of course, with Defying Gravity. We've all heard the alphabet battle cry in all of the Target commercials or trailers for the Wicked film. But at the core of the songs, they stay true to what Stephen Schwartz has done and to what the Wicked musical has done on Broadway, which for me was the right choice, because if they were going to change every song into like a pop version, I feel like it really would have taken away from the story and also from the beauty of the score that Stephen Schwartz has put together. And on the topic of music, it blends seamlessly in with the story, in with the movie. It sounds glorious in the movie theater. Let's talk about casting. I thought that Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jonathan Bailey, Bowen Yang, I thought everybody was perfectly cast. I already went into it expecting Cynthia to sound marvelous. I mean, she's a Broadway Tony winner. She is an Oscar-nominated actor. Every time she opened up her mouth, I got full body chills. I mean, she'd be 2 notes into a song, and I'd be sitting there absolutely holding my breath, just waiting for the next note to come. And I expected her to be great, but she more than exceeded my expectations. And then Ariana, her too. I mean, between her singing the more operatic type music that we're not used to her singing, as well as the dancing, I was blown away by how much she was keeping up with the dancers who were on set. And there were lots of dancers. That was one of the things that I loved about this production. They cast so many people so that, you know, when it came time for the credits to roll, you had page 1 of dancers, there were like 50 names, page 2 of dancers, page 3 of dancers. Like, we sat there watching the credits thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many people in this production. And I feel like that's what made it feel more authentic, because there were so many. But I digress. Back on Ariana, she was really keeping up with people. Bowen Yang dancing in the background, keeping up with the other professional dancers. It was very impressive. You could tell that the casting team, I think it was Broadway casting team Chelsea, you can tell that the casting team really went above and beyond, making sure that the people were the correct fit for their characters and for their skills and talents. And I just had to do a quick fact check on myself. Telsey Casting, who also casts for the Wicked Broadway production, cast for this movie. So over 20 years of casting, they know what they're doing, they've had a lot of practice, and it showed. Let's touch on the visuals. And this is the one area in the movie where I would say I would start to deduct points, because it was absolutely stunning. I mean, from the opening number, it really feels like you've been dropped into the land of Oz. It feels immersive. It feels like you're sitting right in the middle of it. And the colors are beautiful. The costumes are beautiful. The set itself, I mean, because there's so many people that were cast, as I said, it really does seem like you're entering a new land and you're part of it. It's not just like you're watching a journey. That being said, there were definitely a few times where you would have the focus be on one of the characters and the background for some reason would look like a teensy bit blurry. And I've heard other people talk about how like the coloring is off, and for whatever reason that may be, I don't know the technical terms for it, but essentially there were a couple times where it was a little bit distracting because a character would pop up in the forefront and then I would see that like the background looked a teensy bit like off. Like, I don't know the best, I'm trying to figure out the best way of explaining it, but essentially it would be like, it would almost be like it was out of focus in the background and then it would like sharpen itself. So I did notice that a couple times, and like I said, it was a little bit distracting a few times, but like if that's what I have to complain about for this movie, I will take it. I'm sure they're not the only movie that has this problem right now. So I am curious to see if I notice it again when I see the movie again, because I will see the movie again. And also when it comes to like home streaming or something that you can buy, I'm curious to see if those are the same things that I'll take notice to when the screen is much smaller and I'm not in IMAX. I mean, I could see, you know, people wearing contacts. That's how close we were in this theater. So I think seeing it in a different, seeing it on a different screen, maybe I'll feel differently about what the color, maybe I won't even notice anything off about it. Aside from the colors themselves, the actual production set was just absolutely breathtaking. I've heard someone say that I've heard someone say that it's kind of like when you're watching Harry Potter and you feel like you've stepped into Hogwarts, and I could not agree more. It's definitely got that feeling of I've entered into Oz, not just me watching a movie set and seeing these actors or these characters do different things. And as I mentioned, being at an IMAX theater and being in one of the first like 6 rows of the theater, I could see everything so vividly. And one of the things that I didn't expect to get out of this is some of the lyrics of the songs, and I've known the music since I was in high school. I've known the music for, let's just say over 10 years. And some of the lyrics finally made sense to me. After hearing this music for years and years, seeing it on the big screen and being able to zoom into someone's face and read their lips and know exactly what they're saying, while also having the visuals depicting what they're talking about, I finally understood some lyrics for the very first time. It is wild that it took me this long to understand how some things had double meanings, but it truly clicked for me while watching this movie, which is amazing. And not only that, but I left the theater thinking, I can't wait to see the stage production again, because I'm sure there will be even more things that I've missed, but also I can't wait to see this movie again. Now, another thing that there's been a lot of discourse about is, will people sing during the movie? And so the theater that I picked to go to, I purposely picked one out in the suburbs away from the city because one, it's less crowded. We had more space. There was nobody sitting next to me on one side. And two, I figured it might be a little bit quieter, and I was absolutely correct. I was pleasantly surprised that nobody was singing along to any of the songs. I myself thought that I was gonna have to like hold myself back because sometimes I'll hum and not realize I'm doing it. But even me, I think as soon as the music would start, as soon as the musical number began, I feel like because I was just holding my breath with anticipation and just so excited and hoping that it came out well, it didn't even occur to me to start making any noise. And then the musical number would be done and I'm like, the audience in the theater was respectful. They applauded multiple times. It was just a joyous occasion for all. Did I cry in this film? Yes. And that was not surprising to me. I fully assumed that I was going to, but the surprising thing to me was that I cried at a time that I was not expecting it. It essentially hit me in the middle of the moment, in the middle of the scene, where I just felt the tears coming. And the amazing thing about it is that the scene that this happened in, which again, I'll be very vague, but the scene that this happened in, the same scene happens in the musical, and in the musical, I don't feel sad. It's more like you feel a little bit of pity for what's happening, but it's not like a emotional sadness. Whereas in seeing it on the big screen and seeing a character on the screen with tears coming down their face, it hit you in a different way, where I was just so moved and like overcome with emotion. Now I do have the book that the Broadway musical was based off of, and my intention was to read this entire book before going to see the movie, but that didn't happen. So I'm not gonna fully make a comparison right now to what's changed from the book to the musical or the book to the movie or what types of things that they included. But I will say there's a lot of allegations in this book and also in the Wizard of Oz movie about Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West. And I'm very curious to see which of those allegations come true. So my final thoughts on the movie: if you love big productions, go see it. If you want to see something unique, go see it. If you love musical theater, if you love the story of the Wizard of Oz, if you're just curious to know what all the hype was about and why there was so much Wicked merch everywhere, go see the film. And once you've seen it, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below and see if you agree with me, see if I'm fully biased because I love musical theater, see if I'm completely off base with some of my takes, because at the end of the day, art is subjective. It's the beautiful thing about it. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking with me to the end. And if you want to hear more about theater, singing, Broadway, my journey as an actor, definitely hit that subscribe button. And until Broadway calls, let's all make the world our stage.